Hi there. In this QuickBooks Online video, we'll take a quick look at something called the test drive that Intuit provides for us to learn QuickBooks Online. We'll take a quick look at the QuickBooks Online interface, including vendors, customers, products. We'll look at the chart of accounts, how to add accounts, and to create general journal transactions, and some of the details that come with that. We'll get into more depth on all of those topics in their particular modules later on in this video series. So I'm going to quickly use Chrome. They recommend, they being Intuit, they recommend Chrome as a browser. So that's what I'll use. And I'm going to use the US version of the test drive. So if I type in qbo.intuit.com reader test drive, that's the US version. I'm in Canada, so otherwise it'll pop me into Canada. So in this test drive, the sample company is a landscaping company located in California. So the taxes will be particular to California. The company sells both products and services. The one thing about the interface is we have this little pancake. If you click on that, that'll hide the left-hand navigation. I like to use the left-hand navigation, so I always have it toggled this way. If you want to take a look at your vendors, we can mouse over expenses and then vendors. It'll show you a list of all of our vendors, also known as suppliers. So I'm just going to quickly modify Bob's Burger Joint. So I'm going to click directly on Bob's Burger Joint and then edit. That'll allow me to edit the record for that vendor. And I'm just going to quickly add an email. And I'll save it. I can quickly create a transaction for Bob's Burger Joint by mousing over expenses, choosing expenses, and then new transaction. And I'm going to create a bill. A bill is a purchase invoice on account. It affects accounts payable. Pick up Bob's. There it is there. I'm not going to actually enter a transaction. Again, we will be looking at bills in detail later on. In another video, that is. So I'm just going to close this. One thing about the test drive, it is session based, so be careful to use this X when closing a window within QuickBooks Online. If you use this X, you'll have to start all over again if there's stuff that you created that you need to use. So I'm just going to use that X, and I'm going to save without, close without saving, that is. On the receivable side, if I click on sales there, I have customers. And I'm just going to modify Amy. So if I click directly on her and choose edit, exactly like vendor, and I'm just going to change her email address to be Amy@Amy's Bird Sanctuary.com and save. You can tab from field to field, or you can reach over and grab your mouse and click on each field. So just like on the payable side, if I want to create a transaction for Amy now, I can mouse over sales and I can create an invoice. An invoice is a purchase on account. So that affects accounts receivable. So I'm going to choose create an invoice and pick up Amy's. And now I'm creating an invoice for Amy. We'll look at this, how this comes up in level 2 with our own company. Again, I'm going to close this without saving. To see a list of all of our products and services, my favorite method is to choose the gear icon and products and services. So that gear icon, you can access a few things. I think all of these items are available through other methods as well, except for maybe that recurring transactions. So products and services gives me a list of everything that we offer in the way of products and services. And we'll look at this in detail later on. We can also use this dashboard to access some common tasks as well. So if I click on that dashboard, I can quickly create an estimate for Amy. Again, I'm going to save it. I'm going to close without saving. But a bunch of different stuff to access via that dashboard. Notice that there's get things done. So that's where we were. And then there's also business overview, which kind of gives us some nice visual versions of data, charts and whatnot. Next thing we'll do is look at the chart of accounts. So if I click on this little gear icon, again we have this chart of accounts is over here. And if it's the first time you access it, you'll have to click on this See Your Chart of Accounts. And it gives us a list of all of our accounts. I'm going to quickly create a new account. So I'll choose New. And this is going to be a bank. And I'm going to save it under Bank Accounts. You could probably put it under Checking if you like. In my notes I just say Bank Accounts, so I'm going to put it under Bank Checking. And tax form section is Checking. Account name is Chase Checking. And I'll choose Save. If you need to edit an account, you can just click on the little drop down arrow and edit. And I'm going to just save it under Bank Accounts, and I'm going to change the description to be Chase Bank Checking Account. So you can be a little more verbose in your description. And save. Oh, tax form session. I'm going to put that on under Checking and save. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no way to delete the accounts in this account list or chart of accounts, but you can make them inactive. So they basically disappear from this particular view of the chart of accounts. Also, any inactive accounts won't appear in any drop-down lists when you try to pick up an account in a transaction, which I'll show you in a moment. So I'm going to just make this very last one here. Penalties, and I can resize these columns, by the way. Penalties and settlements, I'm going to make that inactive. So if I choose that and then scroll all the way to the top of the list here, we have batch actions. I'm going to choose make inactive, and I'll say yes. So now that's no longer available in my chart of accounts. In this present view, there are ways we can reveal it again. So if we want to make it active, we can toggle that. We can also modify any accounting company settings that need modifying as well under the gear icon, account and settings. And then takes a moment, company will pop up and we can change a bunch of information about that. Addresses, legal address, all of this stuff. And I'm going to just change the company name to be Craig's Design and Landscaping Services, and I'm just going to add my name as a suffix. So I'm going to quickly look at creating a general journal transaction. So I'm done with my accountant settings. I can either close that or choose done. To get to the general journal, it's under new and then journal entry. And I'm going to quickly create a recurring transaction. Notice we have make recurring. So I'm going to create a general journal transaction that always uses the same amount and happens at regular intervals. So anytime you create one of these, you may want to save it for later use so that you don't have to duplicate your work. So I'm going to pay off a loan. So under the account here, I'm going to click on the account. We don't presently have the loan listed in our liabilities, so I'm going to add that on the fly. So if you click on your little drop-down list here, first of all, you'll notice that penalties and interest is gone, not in the drop-down list because we made it inactive. I'm going to choose Add New, and this is going to be a long-term liabilities. Basically, it takes several years to pay off, long-term. Detail type, I'm going to say Other Long-Term Liabilities, and I'm going to call this Term Loan. I'm going to leave everything else blank, or at the default. And I'm going to debit $500. So I'm paying $500 to that loan, and it's coming out of, I'm just going to take it out of checking. Now, again, this happens every month, so I'm going to make this, first of all, I'm going to save this. This is something that's unique to the general journal. When I choose save, the screen remains populated with all of the information I added. When you do this via a bill or an invoice, it'll clear. So now when I make recurring, it'll take what we see in front of us and make it into a recurring transaction, also known as a template. So I'm going to call that term loan or some such thing. And it's going to be monthly on, this will be the month, the day of the month. So I'm going to say, right now it's the 5th. So I'm going to make it the 5th. I've already saved this for September, so I'm going to make this for October. So it's a little bit of a departure from my notes. So it'll be the 5th of October will be the next transaction date, and it'll always be available. It'll always recur. And I'll choose Save Template. Now, again, we're looking at a session-based version of a company, so we won't actually be able to see this recur in October, as that transaction that we just set as recurring will just be deleted once we close our browser. But we will see recurring transactions in a 30-day trial version of the software, which we'll be using in level 2, so we can see stuff like that. But if you want to see that recurring transaction in a list, it's under the gear icon again. So we've used the gear icon to access our products and services, as well as our account and settings and chart of accounts. We can also see a list of our recurring transactions templates there as well. So you see there's the term loan there, and if I wish to post it, so outside of the schedule, I can quickly use it and save and close or whatever. I'm not going to bother posting again. I already did it for September 5th, so we're good. Now, in order to find transactions, my favorite method is to use the magnifying glass always, and then I like to use the advanced search at the bottom there. And then in this situation, we've got the only transactions that we've entered are general journal, so I'm going to narrow that down to only journal entries. Journal means general journal. And then there's the one that we entered. These ones are entered by the folks at Intuit, or their bot or whatever. So I'm going to choose that transaction. There it is there. And if we wish to delete it, we can reverse it and save and close. So maybe we realized that we already paid that loan off, or we needed to renegotiate. Now, if you want to see a report of all of the transactions, you can go to reports here, and we'll look at reports for all of the modules as we see them. Where we find the journal reports is under For My Accountant. So I'm just going to scroll down to For My Accountant. Make sure you take a look at all of these reports if you like, to get a kind of clear idea of what they give you. But under more For My Accountant, there's the general journal transactions. By default, it's for a particular date. I believe that date is sticky when you start using a 30-day trial. Level 1 and level 2 are more than 30 days combined, so I don't have you start your 30-day trial until level 2. So you see there's our term loan transaction. And I can just go back to reports list to go back to my reports. And that's pretty much all I want to show you for the first unit. So again, we looked at accessing the test drive, a little bit of the interface, the chart of accounts, as well as creating a general journal transaction, and then finding and modifying recurring transactions, as well as posted general journal transactions. Thanks so much for watching.